I'd like to make an announcement in respect of the amnesty that's now being given on the payment of late registration of births. Now in Fiji, as you know, that you need to register the birth of your child within 12 months. And you pay the normal $2.25 registration fee. However, if you register after 12 months, then it's considered to be a late registration. And you pay a fee of $11.50. Many of you may not be aware of this, but there are thousands of people in Fiji who have not registered. Literally. In fact, last year, through the awareness program that the Ministry of Justice, through the Permanent Secretary, has put in place, we registered a lady from Ngau who was born on the 10th of August 1934. She had never been registered. In fact, last year we registered 9,075 Fijians who had not been registered, all late registrations. So it's obviously a big problem where there are many people who are carrying on with their daily lives without being registered. Now, in the Beni Marama government's effort to ensure that we have proper record keeping, proper data, to be able to help government to plan, to direct resources, to provide social welfare, to provide assistance, it is critical that people are actually registered. For example, there's been a focus in the maritime areas. Last year, for example, in Kandavu, registered 315 people, 237 people in Koro, Lakemba 18, Rambi 118, Rotuma 4, Tavuni 110, Yasawa and Mamanudas 121, Ngau 25, Bua 95, Undu Point 18, in Vitilevu, in Bukuya village, for example, there are 13 people not registered, Kayasi 71 people not registered, in Singatoka, Lawanga 65, in Nandarivatu 120. This is all last year. Now, at the moment, as you would be aware, that the Commissioner Eastern is carrying out a visit to the Lao group, and a team is there with the Commissioner, both from the elections office, that's actually registering people, would be eligible voters, and of course we've sent out the registry team from the Birth, Deaths and Marriages office. So government has made a decision that in order to encourage people to register their birth, that we will waive these fees of $11.50. However, it is critically important that we do not compromise on the identification process. You obviously need to have the registry from your nursing station or your hospital thereabouts. We need to have a third-party verification of your identity. There's a particular process that people need to go through. That is very critical because, as we have seen previously, there's been a lot of identity theft too. So somebody may be in some rural area and may use your name and use exactly all the details. They could be your cousin. And they could steal your identity, which we obviously don't want. The verification process will be there, but as you would have noticed that government has also this year, which the Prime Minister announced, has allocated some specific funding to create this awareness, to ensure that people actually come out and register. And as you would all appreciate the fact that registration is critical. The amnesty commences from today and will end on the 14th of March. So it's an amnesty for 2 months. As I mentioned, the group is out in Lao today. We have a team up in Rambi, and there's also, from there they'll go to Kioa to register people there who would not have registered already. So, like I said, the oldest person that was registered was born in 1934. And that was just done last year. So all these years, that person did not have their birth certificate. So that's the announcement, and we encourage everybody to, if you know of people who have not registered, themselves or who are not registered themselves or their children, please do so. It does help. It does provide our ability to provide services. And also, as you would have noticed in today's Fiji Sun, that we've extended the opening hours of the registries throughout Fiji, in Suva, Lautoka and Lambasa. Extended hours up to 7 p.m. in Suva at least, and 6 p.m. in Lautoka, and 5 p.m. in Lambasa. And then, of course, we are open on Saturdays too, in those centers, to allow people to come and register themselves or their children. And that's obviously to cater for the working people who may not be able to come during working hours. They can come on a Saturday and come in the evenings also. Thank you. Any questions on this particular topic?
So how is this relevant to the 2014 calls? So you said as many people registered.
Well, it is relevant, but it's not entirely the focus. It's good to have people registered. People need to be registered, have a birth certificate. It does, of course, help. There are some people who are below the age of 18 who aren't registered. In fact, if you see the crowds downstairs just before school, many of those people who are there, the parents, they did not register the children when they were born. So when now they're about to go to school, they think, oh, we don't have a birth certificate because the school requires a birth certificate. So they come rushing to get the birth certificate, which they never were issued with in the first place. So it's not just the voter, those who are 18 years and over. There are a lot of people who are not registered who are below the age of 18. And they need to have birth certificates.
More people come in January.
Yeah, so the PSJ has given me some statistics. Last year, for example, only in the month of January, just in the Suva office, we had 1,799 people who came and registered, either themselves or their children. Now, if you look at all the other months, I think the one that's highest after that was in February, was 949. And after that, it averages about 500. I'm just talking about the Suva office, of course. But you can see the spike in the month of Jan, and that's precisely for that reason, because people do not register the children at birth.
So what happens after March? Do the fees?
The amnesty is for 2 months, and obviously, people will need to pay the fees. It's $11.50, but the idea is that it'll hopefully encourage some of those people to come out and register. And in particular, when we go out to the maritime areas, it'll help them too to register. It's an incentive.
So there's no change in the fees when amnesty ends?
The fee is $11.50.
So would you have figures as to how many are not registered?
Very difficult to tell. Extremely difficult, because unfortunately, this probably should have been done a decade ago, many of these things, or if not earlier than that we don't necessarily have good record keeping in Fiji. So this is what we're trying to do, is essentially collate all the data to ensure that we have the correct data. We know how many people are born in Fiji. We should be able to have this information at the flick of our fingertips. But now, as you know, government is investing quite significantly in terms of the ITC capacity within government itself, with the e-governance project, giving it actually true meaning now. And this will, of course, help us. So to answer your question, we don't really know. But hopefully within a year or so, with the ITC capacity and the improvement in data collation and data integrity, we'll be able to give you those figures. Because we should be able to, check throughout Fiji, through our IT system, and say, okay, how many people are born today? And then how many people have been subsequently registered? That capacity does not exist. That sort of investment should have been made about 15 years ago. And we're trying to build that capacity now.
Are you looking at making this compulsory or something?
Registration? Well, as you can see that there are still a significant number of people who aren't registered. When you make things compulsory, you need to provide an enabling environment. So we need to be able to make it easy. So we're looking at long term down the track that perhaps the hospital should have the capacity to register people then and there. But of course, we cannot expect those processes to be doing everything. People need to take their own initiative too. So we're looking at developing those sorts of capacities. But if you make something compulsory, people don't do it, are you going to find them? And how much are you going to find them? So I mean, we can't simply just say let's make it compulsory and then if you have a fining regime, then it poses a whole heap of other problems. By doing this or carrying out this awareness program, we're trying to engender a sense of responsibility in people to say, look, it's in your best interest to register yourself, to register your children or your loved ones, because it will be beneficial to them.